Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. Minerals, something which is not spoken about, something which is so important that it should be spoken about every day. We just don't, because it doesn't excite people, and of course there was a lot of politics attached to it because of this one word called scams. Having said that, India's mineral wealth is something that we need to look at for going into the future. It's all about rare earths, it's all about the sophisticated mining capabilities, it's all about having the resources. Today, if Russia can stand up on its own, it's because it's got its resources, got a way to use those resources. We need to understand what's happening in India. Recently, the government has come out with a policy. We need to understand what that is and how that will impact the future of our great nation. To do that, I have with me Admiral Kannan, who's going to tell us a story and a deep dive that he's been able to do about this very, very important part of our wealth. Sir, thank you so much for joining me once again. And I think this is a subject that got missed by many an analyst, although it is one of the most important things that any country needs to look at.
Thank you, Mr. Athan. Thank you very much. You said it correctly. It's a topic which is globally very, very relevant and extremely important to India. A bit of introduction in the initial part. You know, the Earth's crust houses about 100 major minerals and many minor minerals, major minerals. Some are lying very close to surface, some are deep seated down below up to 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers. And every country is blessed with some level of mineral wealth on its land mass. Geologists feel that India is as well endowed as Australia is, from the study of how Earth was formed, how the various subcontinents were formed, etc. They said we should be having the same level of mineral wealth, intensity wise, as Australia. And today, Australia is a dominant mining nation. So there is an implication here, or there is a perception here that we haven't really looked at our mineral wealth adequately or exploited it adequately. If you go back history of our own country, thousands of years ago, people have been using minerals to make utensils, some hunting weapons, ornaments, and even they've been able to get some mineral to light lamps in the house or in temples or in other religious places. And a little later, they have been able to get even the mineral to make a furnace, which actually was coal. So coal became a popular, I'm talking of those years, mineral which could uh, help furnaces to be lit. And the very familiar blacksmith used to be there who used to make all the weapons. You could be operating on that. This trend followed almost in every country. And about 250 years back from today, coal mining was almost rampant in almost every part of the world. And they have been able to make coal furnace which could heat up a lot of water to generate steam. Steam was used for many purposes. Steam was used for as a power. Steam power was used for moving objects, moving, rotating wheels, etc., etc. And then suddenly we had the invention of steam engine, which helped in mass transportation either by rail or by water. So we found coal had driven the industrialization about 200 plus years. And in fact, that today is called as Industry 1.0 in many literature. That is the starting point of industrial activities world over. Soon we had steam turbines which could run a wheel, and that mechanical energy was used to drive many other machinery. After some time, we had electricity generation by steam turbines. And once electricity was available, this is roughly about 1870 or something like that, 1860, 70. Then power supply was available at homes, in various places in rural and cities or townships those days. And we could run many appliances, we could run many industries, and that was continuing. But everything was based on coal, the mineral. The basic energy came from coal. But 120 years back, we had the fossil fuel extracted, refined into petrol and diesel. And then it became easy for many people, many persons, many countries for having a fuel which was easy to handle, easy to be put on a smaller machine like a car or some other appliance. And we found petrol and diesel started driving the industry. Oil rich companies became very, very dominant in economic development of the world. And those poor countries who did not have oil of their own resource had to buy it from the oil rich countries, which weakened their economy a bit. So you find the mineral, be it coal 250 years back or fossil fuel about 120 years back, they started playing central role to the international economy and how it developed, where the powers got concentrated, and which were the less developed nations and which were the developed nations, because the moment they had more minerals with them, more fuel with them, they could run their industries and they got developed. This happened till about end of 20th century, when lots of talk regarding global warming, carbon emission, etc. started. And the fingers were pointed towards coal and fossil fuel. Rightly so, because they generated a lot of carbon emission when they were being burned, be it in a small car or in a truck or in a ship or in a locomotive. So slowly, countries have started avoiding coal and fossil fuel. Whatever is continuing, it's continuing, maybe at a slightly reduced intensity, but all new developments are coming around some other form of energy, which, as you know, is solar and wind. Solar and wind energy require, require a different type of equipment to generate electricity, which is the common form of supply to, be it residences, be it offices, be it to cities, be it to facilities, be it to appliances. To generate that common form of energy, you require a different type of equipment. And those equipment require a different set of minerals. So what has happened now, there is a mad rush by countries to get the minerals required to make solar panels, windmills, which are very critical now, and thereby reduce their carbon emission from their country and also achieve their commitments which they have given during the various COP meetings, Committee of Parties meetings in the UN. So mineral has continued its dominant position in the center, even though it was coal, later became fossil fuel. Now another set of minerals or few minerals have come in the center to saying now they will decide how they will control how the energy can be obtained from wind and sun. And these minerals which are there now are available in some countries, uh, more than some countries don't have enough. Some countries have, but they don't have the facility to extract them or refined them. So countries like China have set up huge infrastructure facilities by which, even if they don't have enough ores in their country, they are able to refine and give it back to the other countries because they set up the facilities for this. On both counts, India is a little weak. There are some reasons for it why it is weak. India needs to look at its land mass, whether we can generate some more mineral wealth from our land. And of late, there's also been uh, countries looking towards the sea for getting the mineral wealth. Because when these subcontinents were formed, a lot of pieces of similar to of the Earth's crust has fallen in the sea in many places, very close to their coastline, which would contain a lot of minerals. That's a different chapter of at the moment that research and development side or technology demonstration level. We'll talk about it. It has not gotten to commercial level yet. But the fact is, the future lies below the ground, has always been the resource below the ground. And now, an additional dimension, it could be there on the seabed as well. So, how India is going to generate enough resources from these two domains is what we need to see, and how well the policies have been framed, how well the infrastructure is available in the country, etc. We'll have a look at it, and that would give us a good idea of how strong is our mineral security, which today all countries have started contextualizing it to national security. It's a part of, earlier they used to call oil security, they used to call energy security, etc. But now mineral security have become a dominant part of national security.
Hmm.
Uh, that's the brief introduction I wanted to give about this topic.
let's uh, let's start with the lands. Of course, what is there in terms of our mineral wealth. We know that there is loads of mining and this and that, which is which is there, and there
Yeah,
are
sure.
deposits of this and that and the other which has been found.
Yeah.
uh,
So our land mass, which is 3+ million square kilometer, geologists feel that we have got about 5.7 lakh square kilometers, which are having minerals below the surface. The extent to which you dig will depend upon the type of mineral which you're looking for. But India has essentially 95 types of minerals, out of which few are atomic minerals, so we will not talk about it because they are not a part of any, uh, at the moment, they are not a part for any international trade, or they are not a part of any uh, development or details of which are available in the public domain to a significant extent. Uh, some are fuel, as we talked about. Coal is a fuel. Then we have our own our own oil wells, onshore oil wells in various parts of the world. So we'll not talk about those fuels, but largely we have metallic and non-metallic fuels, minerals. I'm sorry, and geologists feel that in the 1,300 mines which India has at the moment active, about 1,300, if you look at the whole of India, it is only covering 10 percentage of the land where they feel there is mineral. So 90% of the mineral wealth which is available in India, based on their study, based on a parallel with what is happening in Australia, as I told you earlier, 90% remains untapped. So there's a lot of scope when someone says there's some more minerals here, but then India's population is occupying many places the density of population is very high. So if any new mines have to be really sort of dug, and then you have to find exploration has to be conducted, there would be some amount of resettlement required to the existing people who are staying in the place. This could be one of the problems. And geologists also feel that there is a need for conducting more explorations using technologies which we don't have in India at the moment. Of course, we do have some aircraft based sensors. Satellite is trying to give you some indication of the minerals which are lying below the soil, but they need to look at some more type of technologies, especially using very deep excavation in a pointed manner, and then trying to take samples, etc., which we have not been doing in India.
Hmm.
But mining assets has been going on in a big way, both in public sector as well as private sector. Almost 50-50. Private sector is a little more than 50. Public sector is around 47 or 46%. The balance is private. And we have been producing very close to, in a year, about 1.3 lakh crores of money from mining, which is adding to almost 2.1% of our GDP. Mining is 11% of the industry sector by GDP. So it's a fairly rich sector. But I would like to add you, the money which comes from the mines is due to the state and not to central government. So if there are mines in Andhra Pradesh, the money is actually due to the state. The center may help them to do the mining, center may help in exploration, and even in some of the infrastructure required to do the mining. The state has to pay only a part of it as royalty to central government. But this answers for many questions why we are not exploited enough. Many states are aware that they have lots of wealth below their ground level. For some reason, they said, okay, let's not explore it now, leave it. It'll be there only, it's not going to go away anywhere. Now, this, they're not been proactive enough to look at mining and looking at some of the minerals which you otherwise been importing, while we could have had it from indigenous source. So there is a requirement, a fresh look is required at this policy or this approach. And the change in law which you talked about could be hinting at some of these. Because today, India, in spite of this less focus on mining, we are second as far as steel is concerned, which is largely coming from our iron ores. Third in aluminium, fourth in lead and zinc. If you look at all these are metallic ores. So we have been doing well. Seventh in manganese. So we are doing pretty well as far as metallic mines are concerned. But that is not the answer now. We need to get mines which are required for solar panels and for windmills, etc., or for batteries in which electric vehicles can operate, because that's all required for carbon control. So you require nickel, cobalt, lithium, copper, etc. Why I'm saying copper, India's got fairly good amount of copper, but the refinement of copper has got seriously affected after Sterlite was closed down by judgment in Thoothukudi, in Tuticorin. So we have been importing. Last year, we imported nearly 35,000 crores worth of copper, lithium, and nickel, etc. Nickel, anyway, we don't make. So what the government is trying to do is reduce import, which is unavoidable in in case of many minerals. So they have formed a company called Kabel. It is a new public sector formed by three other public sectors which work under Ministry of Mines. National Aluminium, NALCO, then Hindustan Copper Limited, and there is another public sector which deals with exploration and things like that. So they all have jointly formed a new public sector called Kabul. It's not very new; it's almost 2 years old now.
Hmm.
Who have been tasked with buying mines abroad, go
Yeah,
to other
Peru
countries.
and hmm,
Yeah, but
hmm.
they have had some success in Argentina. They had some success in Australia. They have signed the MOUs, but I don't think they have purchased a mine yet. While most of the mines that are required for cobalt are already been purchased by China and Congo. So all the mines abroad, people are trying to secure some mines abroad, but wherever they go, they find wherever Kabul goes, they find China's already come there and bought the mines and set up the resource exploitation machinery for it. So coming back to imports, uh, why should India be requiring to import minerals? As I told you, we import something like the difference between import and export of minerals in India. It's more than 1 lakh crore. So
Wow.
we are importing much more than what you're exporting. Why is this? We need to import when there is no wealth with us for that particular ore. We don't have any availability in India, or we have the ore but we don't have the processing facility, so we have to still import the refined material, or we want to safeguard our reserve, which many states are doing. They are safeguarding their reserves and not mining. So India also maybe at looking at saying, okay, let us not exploit our mines now, let us keep this, let us import as long as it is available in the international market. And a lot of these imports also taking place on a G to G deal, because not because it's a trade deal, but it's also sometimes an exercise for friendly relations. We go and buy zinc from some country, thinking that it gives an impression that we don't have zinc. We have lots of zinc, but still we buy zinc from another country, so that the third country can buy our coal.
Hmm.
He says, I will buy your coal, you take zinc from me. So it goes like that as a an arrangement. And I should also tell you, Indian coal is a very dirty coal. It has got high ash content. We ourselves don't use it much in our fertilizer companies and steel company plants, etc. So what was happening till, let's say, end of 2022? I'm putting a date to it, December 22. The government had a list of strategic minerals and critical minerals. The definition in government literature or ministry literature was a little vague. What is strategic? What is critical? Uh, they're saying strategic will be same as critical, but it'll be something which will be required for during wartime. Otherwise, if it is for industry and development, etc., it's critical. So the line between strategic and critical was not very clear. But notwithstanding that, they had about 20 plus minerals in these two categories. And recently, in July 23, government revised this document and came out with a list of 30 strategic, I'm sorry, 30 critical minerals, and they went about in a very very scientific manner. They studied all the documents pertaining to this, uh, what they have in USA has got 50, Japan, EU, Canada, UK, and then they say, okay, this is how they are looking at this for various industries which they have. So they formulated about 30, and then they had uh, looked at the corresponding industries, be it renewable energy ministry, or be it ministry of steel, or ministry of petroleum, because some of these minerals also required for refineries. And let's take sulfur is required, certain amount of sulfurization is required for petrol. So they made this 30, and then they made a formula based on supply risk. Where are we going to import from? And
Hmm.
what is the value of import which you're looking at? So they made a formula, an empirical formula, and based on that, they come to a conclusion of about 30 uh, minerals, which is a document which was released sometime in July by Ministry of July 23, Ministry
Hmm.
of Mine. and that is given an indication of what are the minerals which we are looking at. Interestingly, a lot of rare earths which
Yep.
are required for solar panels, atomic energy, as well as for windmills, etc., are included. But the the minerals required for nuclear fuel have been kept away from this. They will be exclusively with public sectors under Department of Atomic Energy. They got a Uranium Corporation and they got a India Rare Earth Limited. There are
Yeah.
two of them, DAE. So that is a separate exercise which has not been looked at. Why are we looking at these minerals which are required for solar panels and windmills? There are two reasons. One, they need to work under heat resistant. They should be highly heat resistant, because whenever they are operating, the heat which is will be involved in their various operations are of a higher value. So these minerals should be able to withstand high heat. Earlier, all this got included along with rare earths limited, because in nuclear plants also they wanted these minerals not as a fuel but for other equipment in the nuclear plant, which will be operating in higher temperature. So some of these got clubbed with rare earths, which was being managed by DAE. And DAE rightly was looking at the whole group of minerals, more so for the nuclear fuel. So the other
Hmm.
minerals did not get exploited enough. So we really don't know how much of these are available in India, where we have a indication of what will be the reserve stock based on geology estimation, like the geologists who have inferred that in Jammu and Kashmir you have lithium. It
Yep.
came in the paper about 4 months back, and they got some samples. But lithium in the hills of Jammu and Kashmir, to getting a lithium battery made in India, the gap is about 3 to 4 years. Lithium has to be taken, it has to be refined, it has to be quality checked for the product which you want, and a battery has to be made. It will take time.
Yeah. Mhm.
So solar cells require silicon, silver, indium, name goes on like that. And windmills also require molybdenum, nickel, etc. None of these are available in India. We have to depend on the import route. And you want to go for an electric car, uh, it's an interesting point. Today, in a year, we we have about 1.5 lakhs electric cars registered. It's slowly picking up, but that's not good enough. We require much more electric vehicles to come to tackle carbon emission. That apart. So for all these electric cars, it is not only the lithium battery is important. It is also to make the electric car as light as possible. So for which you require a comparison with the conventional car is you require 35 kgs of these new minerals in every car, while
Yikes.
the conventional car, it was only it was about, I'm sorry, 35 kgs for the conventional car, but the electric vehicles require 200 kgs for one car, because they have found by getting these minerals you not only have a lighter vehicle, but also you're able to have your battery. Out of that, lithium battery has to come out of this 200 kgs. Headlights have gone into new type of LEDs and things like that as headlight. So all this put together, you require something like 200 kgs per car. So if you want to pursue electric mobility in the country, you require a lot of minerals. So uh, we have to find ways and means of getting these minerals from abroad. We don't have resource in India. So where do we go? All these days we have been importing from China. There's a supply risk in if you're taking from China, and China has intelligently set up its infrastructure so that ores may be somewhere else, but in refinement of that particular one can take place only in China. So this has been attracting a lot of international attention.
Hmm.
In the last 2 years, US, Korea, Japan, EU, or Australia all have formulated their national strategy on minerals. We haven't done yet. India's issued a list of 30 minerals which are critical for our development, but the strategy we have to follow has to come out of that. It is given in some detail in this document of 30, whether we'll import from Argentina or we'll import from Australia, or whether we should be still going back to China for this import. All this is given. US has done two-pronged action. One, after this document has been issued, first they gave, at the president's level, gave an executive order to all the mining companies saying go full speed on mining what is the reserve held in US, so that they don't have to import after a couple of years from China. So that is one action which was taken. In fact, it was taken during the last US president's time, towards his last few months of his time. The second one which they have done, and very interesting, they formed a China plus one strategy for minerals. That means let us look at another source other than China for minerals. So this China plus one partnership strategy was adopted in US sometime in middle of 2022, and they formed an alliance called Mineral Strategic Alliance of 10 other countries: EU, Canada, UK, etc., etc., Japan, Korea, and we got missed out. India got missed out from that strategic alliance when it was formed in June 22. Uh, there's a reason for it. And that is the sad part of it. And that is going to talk of the story of post independence, what has happened on the sector. It seems India was not given the membership because we don't bring on table the knowledge, we don't have the resources by way of ores, we don't have the infrastructure for refining the ore, and we don't have many applications developed in the country utilizing the ore. We have been largely an importer, sometimes as equipment, sometimes as the mineral, refined mineral. So we missed this opportunity of being on the table for mineral strategic alliance with other leading countries, excluding which is excluded China, and they were pursuing the China plus one strategy. Now, we tried to cover some ground. If you recall, Mr. Piyush Goyal, our Minister for Trade, had visited US sometime in February,
Yeah.
and he signed an MOU with the US Trade Minister, saying that US will help us with the supply chain for minerals. Okay, you're not a part of our alliance, but we will let you know from where you can buy. Maybe from this group of 10 countries only you can buy, and therefore some ground we covered. Now, this has been seen as a positive step, and I think it got reaffirmed during Prime Minister's visit to USA a couple of months back, where this was uh, once again stated that we will follow this uh, help from US essentially by way of knowledge and by way of information regarding mineral wealth. So, as it stands now, our major objective of pursuing renewable energy, we are dependent on imports. All along, we have been doing from China for most of the minerals. Now, we are taking US help to find alternative sources for these minerals from other countries. And the stark reality in India is we haven't explored enough. Now I come to that point. We didn't bring much to the table, I said, when the strategic alliance which was formed in the West, and we were not included in that.
mm,
If you look at from 1950s to 2000, for 50 years, geology, geological applications have not been a favorite topic for Indian scientists, Indian engineers, and even for the ministry, I should say. They were looking only largely at coal, and they're extracting coal and selling it. Coal mines were auctioned, etc., etc. But we didn't pay, and of course, even iron ores and copper and this. But we didn't look at these minor minerals which we have to develop, which we require. Nobody foresaw that we will require all these minerals when fossil fuel, let us say fossil fuel comes to an end. Now the fossil fuel is being brought to an end because of carbon control. But otherwise, if the fossil fuel was tapering down in availability, we would have turned to solar and wind. At that time, there wasn't a strategy saying that we need to get these minerals explored in India, whether it's available. So our institutions, educational institutions, you look at any other IITs, you look at one of the best universities in India, how well they are prepared, their geology department, or how well their metallurgy department has been able to contribute towards this field. I think
mm,
we missed the bus on this. Doesn't matter. We can still catch up, but it is a lesson which we have learned. We neglected this field primarily because halfway through computers came, and then we all ran the digital way in a big way in that, and the best of the talent went there, and some of the basic sciences like geology, etc., got waylaid, and we didn't get enough attention to it. I think second aspect is most of the mining activities have been taking place only in public sector for fear of going to private sector because of the scam involved and things like that. So people have been staying away till about 7, 8 years, 10 years back, or maybe 15 years back. We started going into private sector. So the new bill, which has come now in August 23, and we are speaking in August 23, talks about 5, 6 important amendments to the earlier bill. First, all private companies will be allowed to participate in mining of those 30 critical minerals, which I said there's a document issue, which does not include atomic minerals. Atomic minerals
mm,
are
mm,
exclusively uranium and thorium, etc., with public sector only. And the 6 minerals which have been, uh, which were earlier under the umbrella of atomic, as I told you, atomic energy took a lot of minor minerals and kept it under its hold, which today are not nuclear fuels, but required for some equipment in nuclear plant. So they have been delisted from that, taken away from that nuclear umbrella, I mean DAE umbrella, taken away and put in this 30, which I talked about, and they are open for private sector for mining. So this is rule first one. First is delisting. Second is private sector has been allowed to come in. Third, they are going to introduce exploration on a reverse bidding formula. That means the one which quotes the lowest, which
yeah,
how much you return will get the contract. So that's the third one. Some years back, central government had given about 100 plus blocks for mining to various states. Chhattisgarh so much, uh, Odisha so much, Andhra Pradesh so much, etc. Tamil Nadu so much, etc. Out of this 100 blocks plus 100 plus blocks, only 20 got activated. 80 plus remain even today inactive. As I told you, states have not utilized their wealth, which was genuinely required to reduce our imports and improve our reliance, self-reliance. That didn't happen. So now the fourth power which government has taken over in this amendment is central government will auction these blocks of where it is expected, where it's already been explored that so and so mine is there. Central government will do the auction and hand over the contract to the state government. So state gets its money because it is genuinely their wealth as per constitution, and only the royalty will go to the central government. So this is the fourth step which they have taken, and they opened up exploration of minerals with 100% FDI, which was not there earlier. Why? As I told you, geologists feel that we are using only 10% of our estimated land area for mining. 90% we are not just looking at it, we are not even started. So there's a lot of exploration required using new technology and without affecting environment. So government has decided we will bring in FDI 100% with some help of some companies abroad, and make sure these new amendments in the law will enable enhanced exploration, increased private sector activity, uh, speed up those 80 odd blocks which have been waiting for some mining to start. And all this would enable our situation of generating mineral wealth from our land mass, let's say by 2027, we should be able to improve our situation. But I don't think there's any answer for us uh, to reducing our import uh, in the next 4 years. As per me, I think we'll have to continue with our imports the next 4 years. Maybe we'll change the supply point. We may go to an alternative country other than China for importing those minerals which are required for our present pursuit for clean energy and green energy. Because a lot of are required for the electrolysis plant as well, which is required for green hydrogen. So I forgot to mention that it is not solar panels and windmills, but also electrolysis plant. So I think we are come with this amendment to the bill a bit too late, but doesn't matter. Still catch up on the time we have lost in exploration as well as production of our mines for minerals other than our routine copper, zinc, manganese, iron, etc. That we already established well, but we need to look at the other ones. There's a long list of 30, and most
Yeah.
of them are very common names, so I'm not going through that. But I think that's a very good step forward which has been taken. So let's hope that this thing happens as far as our land mass is concerned. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Caesar.
Aha, that's a very interesting topic. Let's talk about sea. As I told you, the Earth's crust pieces must have fallen in the sea. I'm only going by some inferences from literature, and they are scattered in our seabed. In 1982, UN formalized EEZ law, 1982, by which from your coastline up to 200 nautical miles, that is 360 kilometers, whatever resources are lying on the seabed is yours. And in that paper, which was submitted in the UN, and a lot of reasons were given for this new law to be brought in, it was very clear how many parts around Indian coast have uh, metallic nodules lying there on the seabed. If you recall, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi had made an announcement during the last 1 year that we are going to start taking out these metallic nodules lying in our EEZ. EEZ was new at the time. Bombay High was, of course, Bombay High. We had started uh, technology demonstration. It became commercial after that. And maybe the Prime Minister had made a statement thinking that some years later, this mining will start. But mining has not started even today. Not only in India, world over. No country is permitted to mine the seabed as we talk now. But the UN body called ISBA, International Seabed Authority, was vested with the task of how you will start this seabed mining. There are a lot of ecological issues, there are issues regarding marine life, this, that, etc. So they'll make a study of all this. And how you're going to permit countries from doing it. One morning you can't say, okay, do your sea mining. They can't just go to the bottom of the seabed and take it. Give them some time to prepare. So India was one of the few countries which was given permission to do technology demonstration of seabed mining. And we are allotted a site 2,500 miles away from Kanyakumari, where the depth was 6,000 meters. They said, that is your place. Go and do your practice there. So India at that time had tasked, there's a institution called NIOT, National Institute for Ocean Technology. And they were told, you develop the technology for how to pick up the items from the seabed, from the bottom of the sea. That I should say NIOT did fabulous job. Few things which they have done, I should tell you very briefly. They made an open structure. Open structure means it is not a enclosed space. They made an open cage-like thing, which they could lower to 6,000 meters from a ship. And that cage had some robotic arms by which they could pick up some items and look at it, etc. It had cameras to look at the seabed. It had various sensors to look at temperature, pressure, etc. So that they get a feel of what is the environment down below. 6,000 meters, no man can go. No diver can go. So they did all this work. And I think they finished most of the work by about 2012, 13. And they were able to do it. They thereafter, and they call this open cage as ROSUB 6000, remote operated submersible. It is an open cage, all right, but it could operate from top, saying switch on so and so camera, switch on, pick up so and so, move arm, you move, all those things they could operate from the ship through a fiber optic cable. And after the exercise, that cage was lifted by the wire; it was lowered. This they did. Thereafter, the next step was how to pick up the metallic nodules from the seabed. You can't do by robotics. You will take ages to do it. So they made a special transporter, like a truck, which runs on an air cushion. That will move on the seabed without getting bogged down in the mud. It will be just above the seabed on an air cushion, and it had the facility to pick up items. And when it is full, it could be lifted back to the ship. And thereafter, these items have to go to land for refinement, this, that, etc. So by about 2000, I think 19 or 20, NIOT was ready to start sea mining in Indian EEZ, where the depth was not 6,000. Anyway, the transporter was required to go only till 2,500 because the Indian depth up to EEZ limit was only that much, even though they gave the site to us at the depth of 6,000 meters. That doesn't matter. So we were ready. But ISBA had not given approval in 2020. They're still deliberating how it should happen. there was also an added confusion to this, because those countries having continental shelf can get eased up to 350 nautical miles, much more than the 200 nautical miles specified in the earlier UN law, UN
Hmm.
convention. So that case is still lying there. Nothing much has happened, but we definitely have EEZ on east and west and around the islands up to 200 nautical miles, which comes to two-thirds of your land area. The sea area under EEZ corresponds to two-thirds of our land area. So if you're not explored enough on land, you might as well go to sea and explore. So NIA have taken the first step of getting ready. ISBA has been closing on this issue. It is recently there was an ISBA high level team where our Ministry of Earth Sciences was represented, and I think by end of this year, can I say Christmas? By Christmas 23, this approval is likely to come. I'm just putting a date to it. So let us say in 2024, we should be able to start our sea mining in our EEZ, which is up to 2,000 nautical miles, as I told you. Even though we were ready by law to start sea mining, which was passed in 2010, amended and kept. But no mining activity could start because ISB had not given approval, as I told you. So now what has happened is a lot of attention has been given by GSI, Geological Society of India, and they have estimated there's a lot of heavy metals lying there. There is ferrous manganese combination, polymetallic nodules are there. There is a lot of Andamans and of Lakshadweep, lot of other minerals are lying. And to make, I think, Kerala happy, a lot of construction sand is also lying off Kerala coast. Millions and millions of tons of construction grade sand is available. That's also a type of mineral. So there is wealth of Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. A detailed map has been made by GSI of the EEZ, what all is lying where. Of course, much of this is confidential in nature. But the new law has brought in 5 clauses, interesting clauses. First, they said we will encourage private sector to do sea mining right from beginning. And they have I think they are earmarking areas in EEZ. Let us say there are 10 areas in EEZ, maybe state-wise. I have a feeling there are only, I think, 9 coastal states in India. Put the islands separately, east and west, it becomes 11. And so for this 11 EEZ areas, I think they are putting one public sector as sort of a coordinator, and then it will be open for private sector to do the exploration and
Hmm.
mining.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because a lot of mining, when it happens, you have to make sure the items picked up have to come back to mainland. It's not find a way somewhere else, right? So you require a coordinator who will help these things, items being brought back to the mainland. So both exploration license as well as production license will be given to private sector. If you find the quality of the mineral is very good, then the government will have a clause to saying, okay, we are not giving for private sector. If they find the quality is very good, they will keep it in public sector. This is a part of the law. And a private company will get 2,700 square kilometers for exploration study.
Hmm.
I think this will happen in 2024 because ISB will approve and they will say you can explore this area and tell what all is available, what is their grade, what is their quality, etc., with the PSU coordinating. But when it comes to production, they will get only 300 square kilometers. For exploration, which will tell you how it is scattered, is it intense scattering, or it is sort of very few, far and few lying here and there. So those sort of studies will be done with 2,700 square kilometers. And this license will be for 50 years because people have to put money. They have to hire ships to take the machinery to the spot. The ship will have to stay there for many weeks and few months. They'll have to operate it down below. They require trained people. They'll require those transporters which will move on the seabed and pick up the items. So it is going to be fairly expensive for someone to do this exploration. And therefore, I think the license of 50 years is something to encourage private sector to stick on to that field. I don't think when it came to oil well, etc., the government gave 50 years license. And
Hmm.
even
Hmm.
for landmass mining, I don't think they gave 50 years. I don't have that comparison anyway. And all the proceeds, the auction, the royalty, the reserve, that's all with center. So no state government, this is a basic difference. Offshore, no state government will get any proceeds from the mining. It will be only with the central government. So with this new law, which has been brought in August 23, has been passed by both houses of parliament. And the Seabed Authority giving approval in the end of the year. We should be able to start looking at nickel, uh, manganese, of course, copper. We already have enough on land. We can keep them as reserve. Might as well pick up as much as you want from sea, because down below at sea you can't be selective in picking up. Oh, this is copper, I won't pick up. No, you have to pick up whatever is lying there, and then when it comes on top, you'll do the segregation and then look at the various composition. So I think this activity will become in a big way in 2024 onwards, and we should be able to see some commercial activity on this by about 2026. Exploration will get over in 2 years, and thereafter production will start. NIOT simultaneously has made, it's a very interesting aspect. Sometimes you have to go and see what is happening down below there.
Hmm.
Correct. Someone will have to go and see. A man has to go. So they have made a submersible, a sphere made of titanium, just 2 meters, 2.1 meter dia. Don't think of Titanic, that submarine which went there to look at the wreck of Titanic. Not like that. A proper titanium sphere, 25 millimeter thick one. They have made a sphere in which three people can sit and operate for about 12 hours. It's called Samudriyan. And the Samudriyan has been made. It's gone through its prototype trials. It has gone to depths it is supposed to go. It has been designed for. And I think very soon, by middle of next year, we will have a manned submersible, which will go to the various locations where mining is happening, so that these people will be able to go there and watch, uh, do an observation, collect visual evidence, take photographs, etc., etc., and then make a uh, assessment on how good is going to be this effort, whether we'll be getting enough mineral from our seabed. So these are the developments which NIOT has done, and these are the developments which are going to happen in offshore mining. And I'm sure our mineral strategy will get balanced out uh, by the offshore mining, especially I'm talking about the minerals which you want. I'm not talking about the other major metallic ones which are available in plenty on land. Will get balanced out by offshore mining, and for the time which we have lost otherwise between 1950 and 2000, as far as mining as a subject, mining as a profession, mining as a engineering activity, etc. For the various minerals which we kept importing without looking at whether we have them in our country, We didn't explore, and if you had them found, we didn't even productionize it. So I think it's a good step which has been taken. A little more focus has come in the mining sector, both for land mass as well as for offshore. And I hope this will help us achieve a lot of our objectives regarding uh, transition to clean energy in the years ahead. Very, very crucial for us. And sure enough, this topic has not attracted enough attention from economists. It has not attracted attention from engineers. I don't know how many of the industries in India have really caught on to this development, which is ready to take off. Uh, and obviously, the government will do some more of discussions and convincing the private sector to come into areas of offshore mining, which must be fairly new to them, because it's only NIOT which has been dealing with it, and a few industries that have been helping NIOT to make the various equipment. I should thank you, Adi, for giving this
I
opportunity.
should I should thank you, sir. This was a. I mean, honestly, people don't. These are very important things that one must actually look into and understand, because in this world of, if I may, supply chains and the battle of resources and the battle of commodities, if I may, the
So
biggest thing
I
that
think
is.
I'll take a minute more to add something which will happen after 2045 or 2047, when we are
Sir.
100 years independent. It's a good day to speak about it. Today's Independence Day. You know, there is something called a hydrate. Hydrate is a structure in the sea, mostly found under continental shelf, and it houses methane. It is estimated India has 18 trillion cubic meters of natural gas in our hydrates of the east and west coast. We are second
Wow.
in the world to have so much of quantity of methane. The first is, of course, USA. It's fine, nice to have. At this point, is not come need to have yet. How to take out the methane is the issue. You take out the methane blindly, the hydrate may collapse, and the methane which is yet to be recovered will get lost. So scientists are working on how to sequestrate the methane from the hydrate and put something else in its place, so that the hydrate doesn't collapse, but methane has come in our hand. So they're going to take something from our land to the bottom of the sea, put it in the place of methane, and that could be liquid carbon dioxide. Molecularly, they are very close to each other. So this is CO2, the other is CH4. So the plan perhaps is take liquid carbon dioxide from land after absorbing carbon dioxide from air, which is a technology which is yet not developed world over. How to take out carbon dioxide from the air. Only trees are taking out carbon dioxide now, not any machinery. They're trying to develop this. And then they're trying to create carbon sink. And many countries are talking about taking this carbon to the inside the earth. When you take out natural gas from one side, put carbon dioxide this side and leave it there. Many people are thinking of this. Where to store this carbon dioxide? You can't leave it back in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
But what India may do, they may liquidify this carbon dioxide, take it to the bottom of the sea, put it in the hydrate, and take out the methane. So hydrate doesn't collapse, methane comes. It's double whammy. Carbon dioxide is gone, methane has come. It may happen 25 years from now, and that may well meet our net zero target of 2070, where we will not have net carbon emission. It's a huge, at the moment, it's science fiction. The work has already started in Korea in this, but it may well happen, let's say 20 years from now or 15 years from now, a prototype will be made to make this happen. So this is an interesting development which is the offering as far as offshore wealth is concerned. I forgot to mention one aspect. EEZ. Many countries have got EEZ, but poor landlocked countries like Nepal, Bhutan, they have no EEZ. And there is so much of sea outside the EEZ of all the countries. Am I right? In the EEZ, after India's EEZ, there is only open sea till you come to Middle East or Africa, where the EEZ will start. So UN is finalizing the approach for this. Areas of sea, which nobody is EEZ, and if any wealth is lying on the seabed in the form of metallic modules, that will be common heritage of mankind. On that note, I think we can end it. So the common heritage of mankind picked up from that area, and it's a huge area covering all the oceans. If you look at it, they will get distributed, maybe based on population, maybe based on some higher value factor for landlocked countries which have not got EZ, etc. So it's a very interesting development which is likely to take place, and some details of this is likely to come out when ISBA gives the final approval to do
Hmm.
offshore mining. Interesting days ahead, and
Absolutely, sir.
yeah, I want to thank you once again for giving an opportunity to talk about this field, which is opening up both on land mass for clean energy and on the seabed mining, which is going to be an absolutely new field for all of us, the world, and obviously for many people in India. Thank you very
Absolutely,
much.
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure and a learning experience. And see you again very soon, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you.